All right, let's jump right in. We're about to explore an ancient text, one that's thousands of years old, but I want you to just forget any images of dusty scrolls or, dense, complicated philosophy. Instead, think of this as a practical and surprisingly modern user's manual for your own mind. The whole thing is set up as this intimate conversation. It's basically a Q&A session between the goddess Parvati and the god Shiva. And here, Shiva is in his form as Bhairava, which you can think of as the fierce, ultimate, transcendent aspect of consciousness. And Parvati, well, she is not messing around with small talk. She goes straight for the heart of it all, asking the biggest questions you can possibly ask. Who am I really? What is this universe actually made of? Is it sound? Is it energy? Where do I find the truth? But here's the twist, and this is what makes this text so unique. Bhairava's response? It isn't a lecture. He doesn't give her a long philosophical theory. He basically says, look, forget about definitions. I'm not going to tell you the answer. I'm going to give you the tools to experience it for yourself.
And he doesn't just offer one tool. He lays out 112 of them, 112 distinct practical meditation techniques. And that's why the text is called Vigyan Bhairava. Vijnana means science or a special kind of knowledge. So this isn't a belief system at all. It's a technology of consciousness.
So with 112 different entry points, where do we even begin? Well, the very first door, and probably the most accessible one for every single one of us, is something we do about 20,000 times a day: breathing. The technique itself is just beautifully simple. All you do is pay attention as the breath comes in, and then, for just a split second at the very top, it stops. That's the first pause. Then you just notice the breath as it goes out, and again, right at the bottom before the next breath starts, there's another moment of complete stillness. And this right here is the master key. The real secret isn't the action of breathing in or breathing out. It's the gap. The text is telling us that in that tiny empty pause between breaths, when you're not doing anything at all, that's the window. That's where you can get a glimpse of pure awareness. Now, once you grasp this idea of the gap, you start to see it everywhere. So the text opens up a few other, let's say, more unconventional doors, using our senses and even our most powerful feelings. Let's take sound, for example. You know how many traditions use mantras, like chanting Om? Well, this text completely flips the focus. It says the magic isn't actually in the sound of the Om. The real meditation happens in the deep, vibrating silence after the sound fades away. The sound is just a tool to create a silence so thick you can almost touch it, a silence you can dive into. Okay, now this is where it gets really revolutionary. What are we supposed to do with overwhelming emotions? Huge joy or intense anger or even fear. Our instinct is usually to either push them down or get totally carried away by them. This text suggests a third path: use them. Think of any intense emotion as a rocket. The technique is to just fully immerse yourself in its raw energy, to ride it. Because what happens at the absolute peak of any strong feeling? Your thinking mind, for just a moment, goes completely silent. Your thoughts just vanish. And in that high-energy, thought-free state, there it is again. That's the doorway. So we've gone from the body to the mind, and now the text takes us to the vastness of our own imagination, opening what might just be the most mind-bending door of all. This technique is built on a massive philosophical idea summed up in Sanskrit as yatap inde tata brahmande. All it really means is, as is the individual, so is the universe. In other words, you and the cosmos are made of the exact same stuff. The very same consciousness that cooked up the galaxies is the consciousness looking out through your eyes right now. So the practice is a visualization. You simply feel that the entire universe is contained right inside you. Imagine the sun and the moon are in your body, that the stars are flowing through your veins. Now, this isn't about a literal belief. It's a powerful exercise to completely dissolve the feeling of being a small, separate self. It just erases the barrier between me and everything else. So we've looked at breath, sound, emotions, and imagination. They all seem completely different, don't they? But if you look closely, there's a single, elegant key that unlocks every single one of these 112 doors. The common thread is always the gap. It's that moment of stillness between two breaths. It's the profound silence that follows a sound. It's the thought-free peak of a powerful emotion. It's that shift in perception where the boundary between you and the universe just dissolves. The text is constantly, in all these different ways, pointing us toward these empty spaces, because that's where the real experience is waiting. And, the most empowering part of all this is that you don't need to go hide in a cave or a monastery to do any of this. Your life, your daily life right now, that's the laboratory. Every breath, every sound, every feeling is a brand new opportunity to find that gap and just be aware.
So really, the whole point comes down to this one simple, powerful phrase, mano mat jano. It means don't believe, no. This isn't a book of rules that you have to accept on faith. It's a handbook of experiments, experiments for you to conduct in the laboratory of your own experience. And that leaves us with a fascinating question to take with us, doesn't it? The text is saying we don't have to wait for some special, mystical moment. So, could the simple act of sipping your tea or truly listening to a song you love, if you did it with your total, undivided attention, could that ordinary moment become the very doorway to the extraordinary that this ancient text has been pointing to all along? It's definitely something to think about.